What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. The opinion I'm about to give is the opinion from a complete stranger online. Please be responsible when competing in the markets. So, I am in the cold, damp, grey, wet United Kingdom, and it is June. It is June 1st. So, look at it. It is unbelievable. No blue in sight in the sky. And you know what? I'm used to it. But let's get on to this. So, Deontay Wilder versus Zhilei Zhang takes place today. And boy, oh boy, am I excited. But let's contain our excitement, because as gamblers, we can't afford to get too excited. We need to focus on generating some profit from the situation. And I think I have a trick up my sleeve. I think I have a trick up my sleeve to walk out of this situation with profit, which is what this channel is all about. So, let's get into it. Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang have a common opponent, both their last opponent, and both of them are coming off losses to that same opponent. And his name is Joseph Parker. Zhilei Zhang dropped Joseph Parker twice, was in the conversation for winning the fight, but ultimately it went against him. Deontay Wilder really was not in the conversation at all, and he really failed to deliver in that fight, and he lost wide on the cards. So, do I think that's going to play any relevance to this fight? Not really. I think this fight is the fight of dynamite. You got two of the biggest punchers in the heavyweight division. And sometimes, we really need to analyze things until we're blue in the face. We really need to go into details of what tactics each fighter is going to use. But in this fight right here, I don't think that's really too relevant. And the reason I don't think it's too relevant is because Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang are both punchers. And as gamblers, all we really care about as gamblers is generating profit from any given situation that's viable to enter the market with. If it's not viable to enter the market, if it's too much of a risk, then we don't take that risk. Sometimes knowing when to leave something alone is a gem in life. But what we've got here is two dynamite punchers. Two guys who have flaws. Two guys who are not in their prime, arguably, anymore. So, when you have a 41-year-old fighter in Zhilei Zhang, yeah, he's been dropping guys, yeah, he's been stopping guys, but Zhilei Zhang goes into this fight as the favourite. Can you really trust a 41-year-old to go in there and do the business? When have we ever seen that in boxing? When have we ever had a 41-year-old that we can 100% rely upon to go and do the business? Because if we were to assume that Zhilei Zhang was the same guy who turned up against Joe Joyce in the first and second fights, then I'd be picking Zhilei Zhang to knock out Deontay Wilder all day. But at 41 years old, we can't trust that he's going to be the Zhilei Zhang that turned up against Joe Joyce in the first and second fight, or even the Parker fight. How do we know that he's not going to majorly decrease from the Joseph Parker fight, and he's literally just a sitting duck for that straight right hand? But on the other hand, how do we know that how do we know that Deontay Wilder still has that right hand? Because against Joseph Parker, that right hand really wasn't there. And the couple times he did try to throw it, it really wasn't that convincing. So, in my opinion, with this fight right here, I think the way for profit to be generated in this fight is to forget the fact that these two guys have just lost their last fight. Forget the fact that these two guys have unique elements to their game that make them the danger that they are. But to focus in on the flaws and what the flaws essentially amount to overall. And when I look at that, I see Deontay Wilder with technical deficiencies. I see Deontay Wilder as a guy who isn't blessed with his foot coordination. His hand coordination is not as bad as people make out, but his foot coordination, his foot coordination is not great, and that is why he couldn't get out of Tyson Fury's way in the second and third fights. He can get out of your way if you're a short fighter, but when you have a fighter with longer reach and can close the gap, because Deontay Wilder's feet are so uncoordinated, he really can't get out of your way. So those are his real flaws. We also don't know Deontay Wilder's where he's at mentally, because he's been talking big ahead of this fight, but before that he wasn't talking so big. He was talking like a man on the come down. Okay, he was talking like a man on a come down, and when people talk like that, you wonder if they're about to call it a day. And he might be talking big this fight, like, yeah, I've got it back, I got that old thing back, but maybe someone's had a word in his ear. Because if he was coming out here saying, I don't know, you know, I'm about this peace thing, then how many people are going to be buying tickets to watch that fight? So I don't really necessarily trust that Deontay Wilder is back to the Deontay Wilder of old, mentally or physically. So I see a fighter here who could very, and let's talk about the elephant in the room here. I don't think Deontay Wilder has a great chin. I think Deontay Wilder had a great heart in the past, but I don't think he ever had a great chin. This is a Deontay Wilder who was knocked down by arguably Dustin Nichols, arguably knocked down by Dustin Nichols. Who else dropped him? Harold Skoners, Tyson Fury a bunch of times, and this guy, you know, he's not got a chin made of granite. I think he's got a heart made of granite, but not a chin made of granite. So if these guys are dropping him, Zhang definitely has the potential to drop him and stop him, possibly with one punch. But then if we look at the other side of the play here, we got Zhang. He's no stranger to the canvas either. Who watched the amateur fight between Zhang and Anthony Joshua in the 2012 Olympics? He tasted the canvas in that fight. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Zhang, he tasted the canvas on his pro debut against a non-puncher. So, and Zhang very, very hurt against non-puncher Jerry Forrest. So neither fighter is stranger to being hurt on the canvas. And then Zhang, let's talk about the other elephant in the room here, and that's Zhang's gas tank. Zhang doesn't have a gas tank to speak of. After about, give him 5 or 6 rounds, and he's gone. So essentially, if Deontay Wilder can survive up to round 5, round 6, pushing it round 7, then he's going to have a guy who's going to be plodding with a high guard. We all know Deontay Wilder has the power to punch through a high guard, and we know that he's going to basically be a sitting duck, potentially. So how does all of this result in who's going to win the fight, and how can we as gamblers exploit the market? Well, do you guys think that this fight's going to go the distance? Do you? When you've got 2 punchers, 2 flawed operators, talented but flawed, do you really think it's going to go the distance? Because I don't think this is going to go the distance. I think that when you sometimes have punches in fights, two huge punches. It can create fireworks, but it can also make a fight cagey because both fighters know what each fighter is going to do. But in this instance here, we're not talking about two elite technical operators, because in order to be cagey, you can be cagey if you're flawed technically, but unless you are elite technically and you're being cagey, at some point you're going to get caught. My money is on both fighters being vulnerable to getting caught by the other's power. I don't need to know necessarily who's going to win the fight, because I believe strongly that this fight's not going to make it to round 12 or even the final bell. So I'm suggesting as gamblers that we straight up place a bet on this fight not going the distance. But this is a real risky one. You see, when we place a bet like this and we don't have anything else on our portfolio, we need to understand that if, you know, we're like, in a way, when we bet on an outcome like that, we are getting a coin and we are flipping it and seeing whether it goes heads or tails. But if we believe that if it not going the distance is tails, if we believe that tails has more weight than heads, then that makes the gamble that we're taking worth it as gamblers, because we know that these are two elite punchers. We know that these two flawed fighters, we know that each has the power to knock the other out. We know the fight can end literally at any time. So we forfeit the safety net and we place a bet on Zhilei Zhang and Deontay Wilder and their fight to not make it the distance. And at Paddy Power, I believe that's 6-1-4. So we still have good money. We still have good money. That's still good enough money that if we place a bet on the fight not to go the distance, we definitely have some potential, depending on your wallet size, to generate some good profit. Anyway, what do you think about what I said in this video? Let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video. If you appreciate my work and want to leave a donation, there's a link for that in the description. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day and I'll see you on the next video.